Danny Flexen here for SecondsOut. Like to be joined once again by Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren. Ahead 2 days away now from Joyce, Christian Hammer at the arena we can see behind you. How excited are you for this fight? It's not the one you initially planned, but still should guarantee some action.
I think we will get some action, Dan. I mean, you know, he's a tough guy. He comes to fight. I'm a bit actually apprehensive about it in some ways, though, because it's not really what I wanted for Joe. We got pissed around by Parker, and you know, we did this fight which was going to be a marking time fight. Had we known Parker was going to do what he had done, we'd have been moved in a different direction. So I just don't want it to be a banana skin for him. And everybody forgets Joe's only had 13 pro fights. That's all he's had, which is, you know, for a heavyweight is like baby stuff. So you know, I think it'd be a tough fight. I think the styles to make it a good fight. You know, Joe's, you know, he's relentless and walks forward. Guy's got a good chin. He just went 10 rounds with Frank Sanchez, the number 3, ranked WBO heavyweight, undefeated Cuban. He's, you know, he'd come to fight, and he looks in good shape to me. I'm up there with a pair of them. And I was looking at them, you know, when they was facing off and that. You can see they fancy it. You're gonna get. I think it's gonna be a bit of a bang up.
How disappointed are you with Joseph Parker and his team? Not so much for the fight not happening, but for wasting the amount of time before making the decision.
I'm pissed off with him. You know, to find out the day before that they'd gone elsewhere, having had his lawyer negotiate, you know, draft the contracts, and you know, it's backwards and forwards. But I got a text. I sent him a text. I think I've told you all this and showed it to you. And then he can come back saying, you know, the deal was done, but I had a better offer. You know, the deal was done, not the deal weren't done. The deal. And then he texted me yesterday and asked, you know, what can we do? I'm not into Joe Parker business. I like Joe. You know, well, I liked him quite a lot until what happened. But you know, he's made his choice. He's gone over there. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Good luck to him on that one. He had a big fight here, and he was getting well paid for it. The terms were all agreed. And we're not interested in stupid offers coming across for a fighter that we've invested. We bought his contract off of Richard Schaefer and his company for a lot of money. Give up, from a business point of view, give up a live gate when we're sold out 0-2 to put a fight on behind closed doors with him and Daniel Dubois. And since then, you know, and continue to invest, as has BT, even spending all that money on that really lovely commercial they did, which went out on, you know, the biggest events of the year, you know, the Champions League, Premiership matches, the Champions League final, Europa League. He's all over the place. I mean, that's big investment. So why would we go across the road for a New Zealand guy? He's a British fighter. He's the guy who matters. He's the number 1. So anyway, it's all water under the bridge, and I know we're banging on about it, but I couldn't give a shit. You know, we're in this particular situation. We're in the Joe Joyce business. Please God he comes through, and I'm going to have him out again in September if he comes through okay, in a really big, meaningful fight. That's where we are with him.
With your standpoint on that, do you have any sympathy at all for DAZN, who are in a sort of similar situation, that they've signed Anthony Joshua to a so-called exclusive deal, but his next fight might not be on DAZN?
I mean, I don't know where it's going to go on there. I know apparently they made quite a big bid financially for the fight, but it's not like the Saudi Arabia's, you know, skin, or they're looking for the money. I mean, they obviously looking at from a different aspects is for profile and getting it out there for many eyeballs as possible to watch it. Obviously, they want to get some of their investment back, but you know, the fight is a loss financially to put that on, and the reason it's there, they pay a premium to get the fight, but for that they want exposure. I don't know what's going to go on there. I hear it. I mean, I don't know what his deal is. I mean, I shouldn't think his deal is here is 100 million sign his contract. I'm sure it's caveated by winning fights and so forth, but it is what it is, and yeah, that's what happens. But that's what they signed for. You can't have it always. You can't take purse of 35 million and then say, oh, it's got to go on this channel. It's one or the other.
If you were DAZN, though, in this situation, would you feel a little let down?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I mean, I don't know what his deal is with DAZN. I mean, I thought he signed a deal. If he signed a deal, you'd have thought it's an exclusive deal. Maybe they still get the fight. Who knows? I really have no idea. And
Will BT be in for it?
If it's out there, of course they will. I mean, yeah, it's out there on the market. Everyone knows that. I mean, it's not like DAZN haven't got it. It is being marketed. It's been, and I don't think money is just the criteria. I think the criteria is to get the exposure. That's really what it's all about.
Now, just briefly on the Tommy Fury situation, did it take you by surprise when he wasn't able to travel?
Very much so. You know, he was told that he's got to go to the embassy regarding his Esther, And it did. I mean, he only came back from the States 4 weeks. I think it's 4 or 5 weeks ago. He'd been out there in LA. So, yeah, it took us all by surprise. I mean, Tommy Fury, you know, I've promoted all his fights. I know exactly where he gets, you know, everything about him. Anybody wants to ask me a question where he gets, who's paid his fights, where it's a no-brainer. He is a Queensbury fighter. From day one, he's been on Queensbury. We are his promoters. Unless we did a deal as we did in the States with Jake Paul last time. But he's a Queensbury fighter, and that's it. End of story.
On a similar subject, a couple of days before that fight was announced, John Fury, Big John, did a video where he said he's not allowed in the US. We all knew that because of his previous conviction. But Tyson is struggling to get in at the moment. Is that a concern for future fights?
No, I'm not concerned. You know, John says things and he says things. I'm not going to even comment on it. I'm not, you know, that's John.
Fair enough. Anthony Yard fighting Artur Beterbiev. Is there a date and venue secured?
We've got a date for the 22nd of October at the O2, and it's not signed off yet. But Bob and I have been talking, and my son George has been talking with Top Rank, and it's more or less done. And hopefully we can be announcing it quite fairly soon.
Eddie Hearn, your old mate, was on Twitter, I think, recently, or someone posted it on Twitter, commenting that Yard against Beterbiev was a mismatch. What do you make of that and his comments?
Listen, you know, Bivol and Canelo was a mismatch. I wish I'd worry more about that than worry what we did.
I think
you look at Canelo and Bivol. I mean, he's the guy who was saying how Canelo was going to knock 7 colours of shite out of him. It just didn't happen. Look, he's a promoter. As regarding his boxing knowledge, I don't know.
I think Dev unearthed a previous quote from him where he'd guaranteed Rocky Fielding was going to beat Canelo. So I think that was the 1-all.
He'd say whatever suits at the time, wouldn't he? I mean, he don't care what he says. I mean, you know, today I'm telling the truth. Yesterday I was lying, and I'll probably lie again tomorrow. I mean, that's what he does.
Now, on the subject of Hearn, I interviewed him yesterday at the Joshua Usyk press conference, and in the interest of fairness, I should ask you one of the same questions I asked him. There was a report in the Daily Mail by Riyadh Al Samurai, we know he hates Tyson Fury, but that aside, about Sky Sports and Boxer issuing letters to all their talent, asking for a guarantee they haven't got any links to Pro Bellum or MTK if they were going to fight on Sky. Hearn refused to say one way or the other whether Matchroom had done a similar letter to their talent. I just wondered if it's something that you'd been doing to yours.
We've got no need to send letters.
You're confident that all your cleaners...
Everything we do is in order. We've done nothing wrong with anybody.
Brilliant stuff. Now, just before we round off, what can fans expect on Saturday night, particularly from the main event?
I think it's going to be a real good fight. Look, he's a competitor. He'll come to fight Hammer. He's got a good chin. Joe walks forward. He only knows one way. He's not going to go out there and try and look pretty. I mean, he comes forward. He is a juggernaut, and I think you're going to get the two of them there. And I think you're going to in the centre of the ring. It's going to be a bang up.
And just finally, Shane Watson from S-Jam spoke to him the other day, and he was saying now the Parker fight's fallen through, and you were talking about a big fight for Joe as well. He suggested potentially Dillian Whyte, who we believe is a free agent at the moment. You've talked about working with him in the past. Is that a fight you'd like for Joe?
Yeah, if they want it, it can have it. That's not a problem. Not a problem at all.
Great stuff. Frank Warren, really appreciate it.
Cheers, Frank.